There was an uncomfortable amount of time before light emerged from the darkness. I wasn't really expecting light to begin with, more of a watery grave, but it had come. A deep, strange blue that drew closer, until I realised I was heading towards it, myself still planted on the ferry. "Moreau!" I called, wondering if he had fallen, like me, with the boat. "Moreau?" We passed the blue light. "Aster!" a voice called, and he appeared from the insides of the ship, a flashlight in hand. "I was worried you'd be gone." He shone it around, inspecting our new surroundings. "I hope that coin of yours is worth this." "If we survive," I began, "I'll give you something of more value than that thing." He nodded. "No doubt you." His voice trailed off. "Will." And I saw what he was looking at, a great drop where the bile and water fell. "Not again!" And we fell, screaming, as the walls of the being we were in breathed in and out. We crashed into a pool of clear blue, mottled with lily pad-like growths and strange, colourful flora. "Where are we?" Mura questioned, not asking anyone in particular. I had no clue. The lore and teachings of the whale path never told stories of whatever had just happened. I assumed we were swallowed by a projection of the divine whale. I didn't sound too sure. Where in the belly of the whale? It was his turn to speak now, as he inspected the growth. "Like what the islanders believe in, the divine whale." "I suppose so. I also believe in it, though differently," I informed. "Now, the thing is, the divine whale is supposed to be dead. So we're either inside its remains, or it's alive." The ferry rocked gently against land. Earthen-like land with dirt and grass. "How are we supposed to get out of this?" Mura found his phone and started waving it around. I laughed. "I highly doubt you're going to get signal in here." There was a serious look on his face. "We're underneath the island," he murmured. The embers of a theory started to churn deep inside me. "I think we've been taken somewhere." I stepped onto the grass and walked until I found a cliff. Beyond it, there was a bustling complex, a city inside the belly of the whale. Yes, that's it. It was coming together now. The spirit of the dead sleeping had wakened and brought us to the island. "Where exactly? What?" We were both at a loss for words. "I think," I started, "we've been brought here for a reason. It's just like the legends say." He asked what legends. I explained. The walkers of the path of stories, and the whale, at least in the stories, would journey with an unbeliever into a city of the whale, or a long-lost temple complex. This was what was happening. I, a storyteller of the divine whale, and Captain Murrow, the unbeliever, I had to tell its story too. Art imitates life. Life imitates art. It is the way of the whale. "This is incredibly bizarre," he sighed, defeated. "We need to go there," I realised, pointing at the city. "To the city inside the belly of the whale." We walked across the land, and as I did, the skies cleared, the fleshy insides of the whale that had swallowed us becoming great constellations of a clear, ancient galaxy. I was not entirely sure whether we were on Earth or on another plane of existence. We came across a large lake soon after, draped in a wondrous rainbow colour. There were these turtles there, with strange hair that trailed as they swam, and there were strange creatures flying in the air, zipping past us, winged fish being chased by flying lizards I had read about in large school textbooks. Pterosaurs, I assumed, or something like them. In the starry skies, there were great whales floating in the heavens, blue and grey, singing softly as they drifted, migrating to unknown lands. It is said in ancient times, when the ancient Adir ruled the world, they too worshipped the art of storytelling. It is told through long past oral history that they rode through the skies of the world on great whales of the sky. The elder fish, the wise elephants of the sea, other names for them. It was said that they brought life to the world through art and music. That is, until they too, like the deities of old, left to return to the earthen plane of their own world, crossing where our world met the next and back into their homelands. I thought about it. That's where we were. We had been taken to the other world, the land of the whales, a place unnamed. And then there was a great bridge of moving stars, and atop it sat a strange creature. "You two are undergoing the trials of the divine whale," this strange goat-like creature spoke. Its face was crocodilian, yet covered in soft fur that danced around scales, met by 4 eyes that were closed, and 2 that were open, a hypnotic yellow within them, spider-like. It was twice the size of Mon, and sported a coat of white marked with reddish symbols. I nodded. I assume so. This was no ordinary creature, I realised. "You are an Aster." The being nodded its long scaly snout. "Indeed I am, and I am the 3rd docent mice." I walked onto the bridge of stars. "What must we do?" Miro added. "And how do we get out of here?" Mice beckoned with their clawed fairy hands, and we followed them across the bridge. "Are you not a follower of the storied path?" they asked. I nodded my head. "I do, but the stories have long altered and lost since your age." We reached the end of the bridge, and we were inside of the great city in the belly of the whale. There was an awe to it, and yet a pang of sadness. From a distance it was shimmering, advanced, and bustling with people. But yet, as we stood inside, there were nothing but ruins, echoes of a lost civilization. "It has been a long time since journeyers from your world have come here." I pondered the ruins. "When was the last time?" Mice sat down, cross-legged. "It was nearly 6,000 years ago. The man with purple eyes." Miro seemed oddly jumpy. "I've heard of that one." I looked at him, confused. "They say he's a passenger that studies the strange. He'll appear and predict the future, and that strange things will follow." I, too, had heard of him. A great observer, a watcher. I studied the city, and the great white whale skeleton carved in its centre. "So, what do we do to complete my journey and get out of here?" Mice stood and started to walk. "Come, to the inner whale shrine we must go." And there we were, in the shrine the size and shape of the whale. Carved bone and dried skin made up the walls, and inside I could sense the echoes of ancient music. "There are 3 trials ahead, trials to test your ability." The shrine folded in on itself, and in front of us there were 3 doors. "I don't like this," Miro commented. In addition, our alien guide had vanished. Each door had carved markings, a whale in the stars, a sequence of nonagons, 9 sides, and the last, the carved image of the Aster mice. "Which one?" Miro grunted, tired of this all. I examined the centre door, the octagons, and pushed. The room folded and changed, and then we were standing in a strange place looking out at the city, where creatures and peoples of all kinds bustled below. A bizarre lost to time. In front of me were interlocking buttons, all nonagons, and I pressed one. A pipe in the ceiling drew out a strange dreamlike sound. The call of a whale. Mura pressed one, then another. "Is this some sort of musical instrument?" he wondered, not asking anyone in particular. Maybe our missing guide would appear. I pressed some more buttons, and then inspected our surroundings more carefully. There was a set of symbols that wrapped around the room. I pressed a button, and some started to glow. "I think so," I answered. He sighed and sat. "Never was one for music." He inspected his seat. "Isn't this organ out of tune?" Organ was an adequate title for it. I played it in sequence, left to right, all around the little room, high to low, to lower. The notes sounded alien, detuned. "No, it's not." He looked at me, confused. "How many ribs does a blue whale have?" He looked at me, confused. 9. This was true. Every 9 notes did the topmost note sound an octave higher than the first. Our music is based on 12 notes. Our ribs are counted in 12 pairs. Blue, I pointed at the symbols on the wall, which looked to an angle like whales have 9. He still looked at me, confused. 9 equal divisions of an octave. I'll show you. And I tested each note, assigning values and places to my mind. I read the notes on the wall that wrapped itself. I played the ancient, sonorous sound of the people of the whale, and then the room folded in on itself, and we were back in the first room, 2 doors with symbols remaining. Miro looked confused. How did you know that? Music is more my thing. And then I touched the image of the whale in starlight, and the room transformed once again. We were on a ship now, a small little fishing ship. There was a storm around us, great waves rocking and attempting to tear the little thing to bits. I know this, Miro shouted, voice faltering, confused. But how? Thunder snapped above us, and I looked around, feeling the air and the father. What do you mean? A boy came onto the deck. And then, the woman from before, older. A younger Morrow and his sister on deck, fighting against the storm. It's me, he shouted, and my sister. I felt a growing presence, and the sound of death. Over the railing I began to see them, coffins rising from the earth, corpse boats rising from the sea, coffin lids buzzing with anticipation. I heard a shout from the deck further in. A great wave crashed onto deck, drenching the two. I ran over, but they could not see me. Neither could they see the older Morrow. I rushed over to them, my hand passing right through. We were like ghosts, our mind and soul transported. Look! Morrow's sister shouted, pointing over the edge. Corpse boats! Like how Mother warned us! I wondered where their parents were. His sister certainly looked old enough to manage the boat by herself, though. And then they started to rise. Dried, exsanguinated things of flesh and bone from the coffins that drifted at sea. And they emerged from their little boats and began to move their mouths, luring them in with the song of the sea. And they swam into the sea and started to climb. There must be something we can do, Miro shouted, to change my past. I tried to think. Why had the door placed us here? What trial was this? What happened then? The corpses attacked, Miro told, panicking. They took her, and me, but I washed up on shore. There was a scream as the first pallid corpse rose on deck. I reached into the other and sensed them all over, crawling and hunting. I found my phone and held up the camera, watching the screen. A triangular mark was still visible on my tongue. I had to try. I breathed in the words of the Salamander King and spit fire, which caught the creature ablaze in invisible fire. It screamed and fell off the railing. Another rose beside me, and I pushed it, summoning flame, which they could not see to my hands, and over the railing. How did you? Physically, we were not there, but magically, through space and time, we were. Magic! I shouted, reaching into my bag and tossing over a knife. Go! We tore against the coming corpses, dashing and sending them over. The two siblings looked on in confusion, invisible beings fighting the strange. We fought tooth and nail, Murrow with an enchanted knife, I with the last embers of the Sun King. But our luck was yet to last. Aboard now was a creature from before, the crab-like guardian of the sea, and the flame I had invoked had now been extinguished. And visible or not, the guardian could definitely feel us. Together now, I ordered, beckoning Murrow beside me. Prepare yourself. I found a reasonable weapon in my bag, a rather large dagger carved from the tooth of the dragon of the Forever Storm. I struck at it, to which it bled, the power of the blade cutting right in. Murrow struck next, and the creature fought this time. And then there was a scream, and behind we saw the corpses, seizing and dragging younger Murrow and his sister off the ship with a splosh. The guardian hissed, backed off, and jumped into the sea. I rushed over, only to see the army of drowned corpses pulling the two downwards, both unconscious. So I jumped into the sea, and I prayed to the divine whale Praedyce, and suddenly, as strange as it was, I found myself infused with the spirit of the whale. The corpses vanished, fleeing, and I swam to grab younger Murrow up to the surface. His sister, though, was nowhere to be seen. And then the sea folded, and we were back in the room we had been in, one final door yet. I don't understand, Murrow sighed. What was that? I shrugged. The whale works wonders, I assumed. Perhaps it was us who saved your younger self. I'm tired of this. I nodded along, agreeing. These trials didn't seem trial at all. They kind of just seemed like random riddles and events for us to experience. Still, it was our only way forward. I pushed the final door. the one carved with the image of the adder mice. The room folded once again. Our guide was there, all 6 eyes closed, sitting crisscrossed. "You have concluded the 2 lesser trials?" I sat across. "We have, though I do not see how exactly they help us." He opened 2 eyes. "Merely a test to aptitude and faith," they explained. "And now it is time for the 3rd trial." I asked him what it was. "You must face and defeat me, or you will die." Miro frowned. "What?" A bolt of energy came spiraling at me, to which I ducked, taking Miro down with me. I quickly snatched a scroll from my backpack and spoke. "Words for when you are alone." This was not the correct spell. I was unsure what scroll I had accidentally reached for, but it certainly wasn't the protection scroll I needed. My unhuman words sprang to life, great bolts spiraling at mice. Knives of ice and water came into the air, nearly striking me. I uttered a quick prayer to the sky whale, and I felt the chamber resonate with me. This could work. Muro raised himself and struck the idea, fists connecting with their crocodile jaws. I raised my knife and plunged it into the heart of the beast, white, thick blood oozing out. Mice smiled. "You have quickly proven yourself, journeyers," they said, vanishing before our eyes. Mice appeared in the centre, cross-legged. "But now one of you must take my place. My spirit, like the guardians before, shall merge with the next, and you too will draw upon the power of the whale." Before I could speak, Muro cut in. "I'll stay," he said, surprising me, "if it lets me destroy the thing that took my sister, and all those other people." Mice nodded. "A noble cause," they mused. "It is indeed possible, but to do so may perhaps invite other beings." I raised my hand. "I'm the follower of the whale, though," I pointed out. "Should I not be the new temple guard?" The Adir guard shook their head. "It is an option, though usually the wanderer stays on their journey, spreading kindness and cleansing evil on the road." I looked at Muro. "Do you want to do this?" He nodded, a surefire look in his eyes. "I don't have anything better up there." He paused, sighing. "I just scam tourists and take their money. This is better. Something new." I warned him he would not be let go of this position until another pair found themselves here, and that would take many long years. But he was certain. Mice stood. "Then it is set." And then the alien Adir evaporated into 1,000 drops of water, and like a divine wind, threw itself onto Muro, who simply smiled, an ethereal look in his eyes. And then he too disappeared, turning into a puddle upon the world. And then it was over. There was something new in my hands, a piece of carved whalebone that had not been there before. I grasped it. Ethereal power, a reward from the succession of the trials. Then I was back at the docks. It was midday, and I was alone.